Michael, you're probably still scratching your head as to how you lost the game on Wednesday. I mean, the positive were the chances you created, you played out well from the back, and you dominated possession. But can you get more from this group of players, given that the size of the group appears to be shrinking with every match you play?
Look, we're always got to strive to get more from the group. I think that's, it is challenging at times, and it's challenging at the moment in a 3-game week where you are down as many bodies as we are. But look, we were disappointed to lose the game, of course, and the nature of how we lost it as well was disappointing. We had more than enough chances to put ourselves ahead in the game. I think had we done that, it would have made life very difficult for the opposition. But we kind of gave them something to hold on to, and we weren't able to find that goal in the second half to get ourselves at least level. And so, yeah, look, the key is, look, we play 3 days later, so we got to put that game behind us. There were a lot of positives in terms of the level of performance and how the team played. Negatives where we didn't take the chances that we had. So, what we're trying to get is a better conversion rate on chances, but again, the same level of performance, if not more, when we come into the game tomorrow.
Blackburn had a comprehensive win over Peterborough. They're closing in on a playoff spot. They're on a decent run themselves. They're also bringing a couple of thousand of fans to enhance the atmosphere. As I always say, it's going to be a really tough game.
Yeah, it is. They're a good side, Blackburn. I've always felt that since even my first season in the job. I felt that they had, they've always had good players. They always seem to find a striker who can score. Obviously, they've compensated with the loss of Adam Armstrong, with Ben Brereton, who's having obviously a very good season, I think on 16 goals. So yeah, they've come through a little bit of a difficult period earlier in the season, and they've got a bit of consistency into their team and their results at this minute in time. So it will be a tough game, but I think they always come and they try to play. So I think it'll be a good game of football, an open game of football, and one that I think both teams will obviously try and win.
Well, I'm hoping now the luck of the Irish is going to give us some good news on the injury front.
No, definitely not. Unfortunately, there's no lucky shamrock or whatever it may be to help that. We don't have any real positive news on the injuries in terms of any of the players coming back. I suppose the positive was obviously, Morgan Fox is again a little bit further along and ready to come into consideration. Alfie obviously got a few minutes the other night, which helps. But in terms of any of the injuries and the suspensions that we have, we'll be without them for tomorrow's game.
And Vrancic obviously recovered okay from what was a pretty horrendous tackle on the night.
Yeah, he was fine. Yeah, it was a poor challenge, and he's lucky that his experience probably allowed him to maybe ride the tackle a little bit. But yeah, it was a poor challenge, and one that the referee deemed wasn't a red card, which is baffling to me. But Mario's fine, and he'll be ready again to go tomorrow.
Obviously now with the suspension of Joe Allen, you're going to have an issue in midfield, and as Thompson isn't available, would you perhaps consider, I'm not trying to pick your team by the way, would you perhaps consider playing Wilmot in a holding role? He's played it before at a previous club.
Yeah, we have. We've looked at that situation. We've done a bit of work on stuff in training to look at what our options are. We obviously have very little time. We didn't go back to 2:30 in the morning on Thursday. So, you have to manage the players. The biggest danger tomorrow is that fatigue element. So we've got to be physically right. And we look at, we've been consistent with our system this season. And sometimes you're forced into changing your system because of, injuries and suspension, as we talk about. But we feel we've got, a right solution to help us in the game tomorrow. And we worked on that this morning.
Timon has played very well in the position he's in at the moment. There will be, a clamouring of people thinking he should be the holding midfielder. But then you have the problem of that affects the left side of your what's quite a good formation at the moment.
Well, yeah, look, Josh can play on the pitch. He has done for us. He went into the midfield three in the game against Bristol. We have Morgan to come back in. We have Alfie, obviously, back, both players back after injury. So we do have options on that side of the pitch. But, as I say, you'll find out the team tomorrow, Ange.
Right, well, I'm going to ask one more and see if I can get a little bit more out of you. But with the age of Mario and Fletcher not being on the youthful side, could you be tempted to start Campbell tomorrow?
Tyrese is always an option. We've sort of resisted that at the moment, but yeah, he'll come into consideration tomorrow. He came into consideration for the game on Wednesday night. We saw obviously the impact he had against Peterborough in the short space he was on. So yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the time where it's ready for Ty to start. Obviously, he started in the Brentford game. And we have to balance what we feel is the right team to pick and obviously try and keep the team as fresh as possible. So all of those are factors. And as I say, I think the team's submitted at 1:45 tomorrow. So you'll just have to keep you in suspense to then.
Well, I look forward to hearing that, team. Finally, from me, it's a difficult time at the moment with the suspensions and the injuries. You've got a few leaders in your team. You're going to look forward to those now helping those players that are more young and haven't been in this sort of experience before.
Yeah, of course. I think one of the things that I've said since I came to the club was we needed good senior players in the dressing room, and I think we have that. I think you've seen that, like Danny Batson, perfect example of that. He's been very patient when he's been at the team, but he's trained well every day. He's not up knocking on my door asking why he's not playing, and then he gets the opportunity to play and he does very well and takes it. And we have good, Morgan coming back in helps us. He's a good talker. Chesney back in the team are all. They're all strong characters. They've all been through this before. They all, have a lot of miles on the clock, and that experience is invaluable. So, yeah, we know that we've got the right characters in the dressing room, and that hasn't been a factor for us all season. I think the character of the team and how the team has trained consistently all season has been very pleasing. We're always wanting a little bit more, but the standards around the club are obviously dictated by those players as well.
Well, good luck tomorrow. Let's hope the win's behind us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ange. George now, please.
Michael, as you've already alluded to, Blackburn come here on a reasonable retrainer form after a decent start. There was a bit of a midfield, and there was a considerable pressure from outside, maybe to make a change, but they didn't have that knee-jerk reaction, and they benefited, I think, haven't they?
Well, yeah, look, it's not for me to say whether to comment on their situation. That all I know is that Tony Mowbray is a very good manager. He's a very experienced championship manager, and I think he's done a very good job there because they've had to sell players. Obviously, they sold Adam Armstrong, and they've compensated for that. They've got a lot out of Ben Brereton this season so far. They've got some good young players in their team coming through as well. So. The games against Blackburn ourselves in my time here have always been very, very tight. I don't think it'll be any different tomorrow. But I think they're always a team that come and try and play. So we have to be ready for that. But equally, we have to impose ourselves on the game as well.
And that's like, and you just already alluded to, he's introduced more youth into the side, hasn't he, gradually?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes when you lose players, you're forced into that situation. It might be due to financial situations at the club, but certainly some of the younger players that they've brought in are having very good seasons for them. That Joe Rothwell's a player who I think always catches the eye. And as I say, we know that we'll have to deal with the threat of Ben Brereton, who I think is on 16 goals this season. So, yeah, those younger players are starting to step up and be key parts of their team now.
Do you see it more of an even game in terms of both sides will like to play and maybe come through as against maybe go one direction in terms of hitting the front players early?
Well, yeah, I think they're slightly different this season from what they've maybe been in previous seasons where, Tony had a very possession-based team. I think they're a little bit more, they play on the counter-attack, but to do that, you obviously have to have threats. I think they've scored 33 goals, so they're not short on finding the net. So, yeah, look, we know where the threats lie, and they'll pose a threat, whether they're, they play on the counter-attack or whether they come and try and possess the ball. They've got good footballers who can handle the ball. And as I say, we have to be ready for that. But the most important thing is that we impose ourselves in the game. We did that very well in the game Wednesday night. We took control of the game from right from the first whistle, and just unfortunately we didn't capitalise on that and put ourselves ahead in the game. So that's always something we have to learn from. And but the important thing again is to focus on ourselves tomorrow.
And your home form has been on the mark, hasn't it, really? So you take that into the game and looking to pick up the momentum again, despite the fact you had a good performance on Wednesday. You're looking to pick up that momentum again, Michael, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I think, you know, our home form's as good as any teams in the league. I think if we're a game short of the teams that have played 10 games at home, and I think a win in our 10th game will have us, you know, on a par, 23 points, I think, which is on a par with Bournemouth and Fulham in terms of their home form. So it's been very, very good. And tomorrow gives us another opportunity to add to that. I think teams who come to Stoke know they're going to face a tough game, maybe a little bit different from what they faced in the past in terms of style of play and how the team is. But again, you know, we have to impose ourselves. We have to get the crowd behind us. And, you know, I think the team enjoy playing at home. They've certainly, I think, demonstrated that this season. And, you know, that's a positive because, as I've said right from the outset, you know, I think that your platform for a successful season is always built on your home form.
And you never want to complain, whatever players you've got at your disposal, and you always feel that you will always put out the best side. And certainly what's at your disposal, you continue to do that. But it gives other people's opportunities, doesn't it, Michael?
Well, it does. You know, we've got injuries and suspensions that we'd rather not have, but we have to deal with what we have. And that's, you know, that's no different. I think that's the art of managing in the Championship as well, to be honest. So, yeah, look, there'll be some younger players that might be around it a little bit more than they would have done had we not had this situation. But I think the important thing is that we can still put, we believe, a team on the pitch that can dominate the game and win the game. And that's where we are at this minute in time.